Hello, everyone, and welcome to AFA Talks, the podcast of Albanians for America, a national advocacy organization where we discuss issues important to Albanian Americans. I'm your host, Doc Vernici. As always, we ask that you share this video on your social media. It's the most effective way to help our organization and to help spread the message of the Albanian American cause. Today, we're discussing a historic development for the Albanian community in the Presheva Valley. The recent Congressional Delegation visit to Presheva Valley and Kosovo, led by Congressman Keith Self of Texas and Congressman Suhas Subramanyam of Virginia. For years, Albanians in the Presheva Valley have raised concerns regarding political representation, economic development, educational opportunities, language rights, and equal treatment within Serbian institutions. While the region has often received less international attention than other issues in the Western Balkans, the congressional visit provided an important opportunity for American lawmakers to hear directly from local leaders and citizens. To help us understand the significance of this visit and the challenges and opportunities facing the region, we're joined by two distinguished guests. Our first guest is Dr. Faton Bislimi, a Kosovar Albanian scholar, former member of the Assembly of Kosovo, and one of the most active Albanian American advocates in Washington, D.C. For more than 2 decades, Dr. Bislimi has worked to strengthen U.S. Kosovo relations and advance Albanian national interests through sustained engagement with Congress, policymakers, think tanks, and the broader foreign policy community. He has also played a critical role in elevating awareness of the challenges facing Albanians in the Presheva Valley and bringing those issues to the attention of American decision makers. Educated in the United States and Canada through a doctoral level, including studies at Harvard University, Dr. Bislimi has combined academic achievement with public service, civic engagement, and advocacy. As a former member of parliament in Kosovo, he's contributed to strengthening democratic governance and Kosovo's international partnerships. He's also the founder of the Bislimi Group Foundation, a nonprofit organization focused on expanding educational opportunities and developing future leaders across Kosovo and the Albanian world. Today, he remains a respected voice in U.S. Balkan relations, foreign policy, and public affairs. Our second guest is Alban Alili, a prominent advocate for the rights of Albanians in Presheva Valley and a leading voice on issues affecting the Albanian community. As a political advisor and public policy professional, Alban has dedicated many years to advancing human rights, minority protections, educational opportunities, language rights, and institutional equality for Albanians living in Presheva, Bujanovac, and Medved. His work includes research, policy development, and advocacy focused on addressing discrimination, underrepresentation in public institutions, and the broader social and economic challenges facing the Albanian community. During the recent Congressional Delegation visit, Alban served as the official interpreter between Congressman Keith Self and Congressman Suhas Subramanyam and local officials and community leaders throughout Presheva Valley, providing him with a unique first-hand perspective on the discussions, concerns, and reactions that shaped the historic visit. Through his professional and public engagement, Alban continues to work to ensure that the voices and concerns of Albanians in the Presheva Valley receive greater attention both nationally and internationally. Welcome both of you to AFA Talks. It's an honor to have both of you on our show.
Pleasure.
It's our pleasure. Thank you.
Faton, let me start with you. The Congressional Delegation visit has been described by many as historic. Why was it important for members of Congress to visit the Presheva Valley in person rather than simply receive briefings in Washington?
Well, Doc, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to discuss this very important issue with you and Alban today. It's always an honor, for sure. And in answer to your question, let me just state that the term historic for the delegation's visit to Presheva Valley may be a little weak because of the importance that it has. Yes, historic, but I think beyond historic, it was an opportunity for members of Congress, especially for members of Congress such as Congressman Self, who have been intertwined with the issues that are present in the Balkans, especially those that pertain to the greater geostrategic and national interest of the United States. The Albanian minority in the Presheva Valley region has systematically been oppressed. And we're talking about state-sponsored oppression that's been going on constantly. And in a country or within the borders of a country that supposedly seeks further EU integration, such as Serbia. The United States have continuously played a leading role in helping the Balkans move out of the past conflicts and into a more secure future. Without their leadership, we would have never had the peace that we have achieved in Bosnia, the peace and the independence that we have achieved for Kosovo. And we believe strongly that without that kind of leadership by the United States Congress, we will never have a resolution of the very basic human and civic rights for the Albanian people in the Presheva Valley. Congressman Self and his colleague have made history in the sense that they have seen with their own eyes the hospitality, the warm welcome, and the feeling of being pro-American that no other people have more than the Albanians, especially those in the Presheva Valley. Now, I gotta also say that it is important to note that this visit would have never been possible without the continued, sustained, and strategic work that you have done, that the Albanians for America and our community in Texas has done by closely working with Congressman Self, who obviously is chairman of the subcommittee on Europe in the Foreign Affairs Committee in the House, and as really kind of put on at the top of a pyramid of a long work that we have done previously with representatives of the Presheva Valley since the early 2000s through the work that has built step by step the way or the path for this congressional visit there. Bottom line, Doc, it is a beginning, I would say, a beginning of a huge, important change, a beginning of getting the Presheva Valley issues. Because yes, I understand some people will say, well, we're talking a small minority, 100,000 plus people. How does that kind of play in the grand scheme of things? Well, let me remind you, World War I was started by a shot fired in Sarajevo. Nobody thought much of it until the entire world collapsed into World War I, right? The Balkans has always been a hotspot. And now that hotspot is right in the Presheva Valley. And so I think the American leadership has, under the leadership of Congressman Self and people like him, understood that the cost of fixing conflicts is much higher than the cost of preventing disastrous conflicts. And so I think we're at a stage, and that's why I call it a beginning, because now we have officially the United States Congress looking after this very important issue. And this issue is not important just to us, the Albanians. It's important for the greater Balkans and European security in general. So again, I want to thank you. I want to thank the Albanians for America, Congressman Self, and his colleague for having taken this trip and for having seen with their own eyes the extent to which the discrimination and state-sponsored oppression against the ethnic Albanians in the Presheva Valley exists today.
You make a great point. Congressman Self, he's got a great grasp on history, and he understands what Balkan history has been in the past. And so, you know, us trying to be, or the U.S. trying to be proactive in preventing any kind of like past disasters we've had in historical context is very important. Alban, you served as the official interpreter throughout the delegation visit, giving you a front row seat to every meeting and conversation. As someone who has spent years advocating for the rights of Albanians in Presheva Valley, did you have a moment during the visit when you realized you were witnessing a truly historic event? What was going through your mind as you translated the concerns of leaders directly to the members of the United States Congress?
Hello from Buenos for you, Doc, and for Mr. Bislimi. I firstly would like to thank you and thank the Albanians for America for doing such a great work, because what you're doing there is really affecting our life, and our hopes are being at the highest point throughout these years. Also, I want to praise the work that Faton has done for many years, advocating for the same thing, and I'm really honored to be in presence of two of, how can I say, advocates and the organizations such as Albanians for America and the organization that Faton is a part of, for doing such a great work for years and years, raising awareness for the issues and the discrimination that Albanian community lives daily life here in Presheva Valley. As you said best, for me and for all of the Albanians in Presheva Valley, this was one of most historic visits that we've had in Presheva and Buenovac, because for us, for a lot of time now, we've entered in a vicious circle with the international community and embassies here in Belgrade, where they come, they hear our concerns, and after that, nothing happens. And this thing is repeating itself for so many times that for us, it's really exhausting. But to have a congressman from America, from USA, flying directly to hear our concerns was really a peak moment for all of our careers, and to be in the meetings for me was really an emotion that I can't really describe it. I've tried my best to translate and give the message from all of the Albanian leaders and the civil society that Congressman Self and his colleague had in Preševo. And in those moments, I really started to think about all of those meetings, all of those hundreds of meetings that we had, but without a result, because I really saw in Congressman Self and his colleague also that they really understood what we are saying and our concerns, because thanks to you and every Albanian in USA who helps our case in a daily basis with all of those meetings that you have in there, they made possible for the congressmen, such as Congressman South, who is really respected throughout Congress there, to understand our concerns and to in a way connect with the issues that Mr. Kamberi or Ms. Sinani or Mr. Rejepi raised. Those are the concerns that we live daily here, and for me, it really is one of the historic visits, and it came to mind the visit the congressmen from USA have had in the 90s to Kosovo, in which we all witnessed or heard about that So those were the meetings that started the liberation of Kosovo from the oppression. So for me was the same thing, and I myself and all of the people that were in the meeting had really a great impression and positive vibes that we got from the congressman. So as Faton mentioned, for us, we really think that this is only the beginning of something better for the Albanian community and for the Presheva Valley, who for so many years faces the discrimination and feels that we have been without a voice, and now our voices are being heard, and we are hopeful that the things will go just getting better from now on with the engagement of congressmen, and of course with the engagement from you as well, and Faton too. So
Thank you, Alban. I want to give a comment to the audience watching right now. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, you can put in questions through there. We have a comment. First of all, Estre from Washington says hello, and then also Besa Selemai from Washington. She says, in Kosovo, we have less population of minorities compared to Albanians in Presheva and are treated with privileged rights, saying that the minorities in Kosovo have a lot more privileges and rights than the minorities in across the border in Serbia. I have another question for you, Faton. You have spent years educating policymakers in Washington about Presheva Valley. How significant was it to finally have members of Congress see conditions on the ground firsthand? From a policy perspective, what does it mean for a congressional visit like this? What kind of message does it send to Belgrade, to Pristina, to Washington, to Brussels?
Well, I think you get half of my answer by looking at my smiling face, as you mentioned. The other half of the answer is I'll be brief, but I'll pinpoint it to both of the issues you raised from a personal perspective and then from a policy perspective. From a personal perspective, it means stimulus, it means encouragement, and it means that the 2+ decades of intense and hard and tough work have not gone unnoticed. I was, in my late teens when I started facilitating meetings between several American delegations that would visit Kosovo with representatives from the Presheva Valley. Gjilan, which happens to be my hometown and a border town with the Presheva Valley, used to be the meeting place. It was started with former Congressman Jody Aguardi, Shirley Cloyce, and the Albanian American Civic League, and now couldn't be prouder to have worked with those two individuals and the league for over 20 years, to especially focusing on the Presheva Valley. But you know what? As I've always said, when Albanians get together, there is nothing that is impossible. So when we started working with you, Doc, and with distinguished community leaders in Texas within the Albanian American community, such as yourself, such as Gino Malici, such as Nick Mehmeti, Bruno Tseka, Ismet Smiley, Ramis Dafila, Joe Aliti, just to name a few, and there's plenty, and I'm not going to be able to ever name all of them. But when we got our heads together, when we brought the Presheva Valley delegation to meet with Congressman myself in Dallas at a meeting that you hosted, for which we will always be appreciative, that's, I think, when the issue became we went from educating policymakers to having them confirm and show leadership in dealing with this issue. And that's what this historic visit was. It was principled leadership by Congressman myself and his colleague and the Committee of Foreign Affairs, especially the Subcommittee on Europe, to show that this is an issue that also pertains to the geopolitical interests of the United States in the region. And I think that's a very, very admirable goal to have achieved. And from a policy perspective, what that means is that nobody can say now that this is an issue that's internal to Serbia. It's an issue that has no international recognition, because it does. Because it does. Now, with everything that's, I mean, just think about this. With everything that's going on in the world, whether Iran, whether Palestine, whether Ukraine and Russia, you name it, you have the number one person in the Foreign Affairs Committee of the United States Congress for Europe visiting Presheva Valley. If you cannot wrap your head around the importance of that, given what's happening globally, then I'm sorry, you just do not see the value and the significance of what we have achieved. And again, this is not to boast for ourselves. This is to say that what we have achieved is that we have succeeded in making the issue of the Albanians in the Presheva Valley an issue of interest and within the foreign policy domain of the United States of America. And every time we have been on the front burner of the foreign policy in the United States, we have won. Alban mentioned the 1990s Congressional Delegation's visits to Kosovo. And back then, Doc, as you may well recall, very few were the people that ever even believed seriously that one day Kosovo would be independent. But Kosovo is independent today. In terms of, and there's one more little thing I got to add, because I was really touched by that comment by Miss Selima, I think it was, the Albanian minority in Serbia vis-a-vis the Serb minority in Kosovo, because I think that's a very crucial point, and that's what we have hit all the time. In Kosovo, we have a smaller ethnic Serbian minority than there is an ethnic Albanian minority in the Presheva Valley, technically in Serbia. And Kosovo has given not only rights, but the highest standards of rights, and I would say gone a step further, privileges to the Serb minority. Whereas in Serbia, we have an entire Albanian community that is constantly discriminated against. And so I've always made this point in front of policymakers across Europe, and especially on Capitol Hill, that this is a double standard. We still talk about Serbia's insistence for that famous association of Serb majority municipalities in Kosovo, because somehow they complain that Serbs don't have all the rights that they do, but they do have all the rights that they normally should have. I am for it. Every citizen of Kosovo should be treated equally, whether you're Serb, whether you're Albanian, whether you're Bosniak, whatever. It doesn't matter. We made Serbian an official language in Kosovo, despite the fact that there's no more than 5% of our population that is Serbian. In every state institution, at every level, Serbian is an official language. Serbs have the right to use their flag, their national symbols across the board. Nobody would ever say a thing. Nobody, much less the state, would intervene and file charges against them. Alban can tell you, and I can tell you too, that there is almost no Albanian in the Presheva Valley that has ever had a political significance or a political position or a leadership position that has so much as raised the Albanian flag on the occasion of, say, the 28th of November, that has not faced persecution. It's not prosecution. They claim it's prosecution based on their laws and whatever in Belgrade, but it is pure persecution. What does a flag do to you? I mean, as a piece of a cloth with red and black on it, a threat to your national security? I mean, come on. Serbia has shown complete lack of respect for their own laws and their own constitution, because these rights are guaranteed in their own constitution. Yet, not only do they not, uphold them, they persecute against them. And so I think the point that must be made continuously is that if I were in charge of Kosovo today, I would just tell the international community, say, well, you want the association of the Serb majority municipalities in Kosovo? Beautiful. No problem with that. However, Serbia has been a country and a state much longer than Kosovo has. So how about we try this? How about we let Serbia try this in their own territory, in their own country, see how it works, and if it works beautifully, we'll certainly implement it, because you do have a much greater ethnic Albanian community that lives within your borders than we have a Serbian community that lives within our borders. Show us the way. We will do exactly for the Serbs in Kosovo and offer them whatever you offer to the Albanians in the Presheva Valley. Fair deal, fairly and squarely. There's no questions asked. Show us the way, we'll follow. But they will never do it. And we know
what's fair is fair. Go ahead.
The idea of symmetrical reciprocity.
Right.
If you're a minority, you're a minority. Whether you're in Serbia, Kosovo, Albania, Greece, Poland, it doesn't matter. There is a European Convention on Minority Rights that Kosovo is a signatory to, and those rights are enshrined in our very own constitution. So I think we've done our job. Now it is our duty to educate the rest of the world of this double standard and try to bring the idea of reciprocity symmetrical across the board. And that solves not only the problem of the Albanians in the Presheva Valley, but also the problems in Kosovo with this association problem that has been ongoing and a burden for the entire country.
Yeah, the double. Go ahead.
I wanted to add something about, but while Faton was speaking, I remembered when Prime Minister of Kosovo, Mr. Albin Kurti, proposed to the in the dialogue to the President Vučić, that said that if we want to start in this symmetrical level, I propose to give to the Serbian minority in Kosovo the exact what the Albanians have, such as National Minority Council. And the answer from Mr. Vučić after that was that this is laughable. And for us in Preševo Valley raised the question, does this mean that what the state offers us is laughable, or what is laughable about that? Because if you are asking something for your minority, your citizens in another state, that is much more that you are offering them, the Albanians in Preševa Valley. Does this mean that you already are accepting that this is laughable? Because the comment that the lady did it for the symmetrical rights are, we always said that we are really excited if Serbia decides to give the same amount of rights that Serbs have in Kosovo, because we can not even think about making deciding for judges, or making the police in the police stations heads from our community. These are the rights that we aim, that feels at this moment like something unachievable. That's why that would be the ideal thing to do. That because, as Faton mentioned, what Albanian community asks for these past 20 years is for Serbia to respect its constitutions, because in the constitution all of the issues that we are raising are part of it, such as the artificial changes in the ethnic structure in a community such as Preševa Valley, the official use in institutions, the use of Albanian minority symbols, because for us it's really important that the state keeps telling us what our symbols should be, and this is not how it works. It's our job to tell what those symbols are, and it's the job from the state to accept those symbols for Albanian community in this case. And a lot of other things that Serbs in Kosovo have. We in Presheva Valley, as Albanians in Serbia, really are achieving goals for a near future.
Thank you, Alban. One comment we have from Besim Shabani online. The Albanians of Presheva Valley, and particularly the citizens of the municipality of Presheva, feel respected and valued by continued engagement and efforts on issues that are great importance to them. As a result of this commitment, the congressional resolution and the visit of Congressman Keith Self to Presheva became possible, representing an important encouragement for the advancement and position of Albanians in Presheva Valley. Ilber Miranai, European Union should be more actively involved in protecting the rights of Albanians in the Presheva Valley. Alban, for Americans who are not familiar with the region, can you explain the current situation facing Albanians in Presheva, Bujanovac, and Medved?
We have a lot to talk now. So, yeah, the Albanian community in Presheva, what's really is struggling in the moment is the loss of hope for a better tomorrow in this region, and it comes from exhaustion of too many years repeating our request to stop the discrimination that the government of Serbia has pushed its agenda throughout 20 and something years, because what's called passivization of address, which is on the bill that Mr. Kisal has raised to the Congress, the passivization of addresses, a lot of Albanians and a lot of international community heard about, but it's not just a word describing something so simple. It's a process in which an Albanian in Presheva Valley loses its citizenship, and in the end of it is wiped out from ever existed in Presheva or Bujanovac. What comes as a small administrative case becomes really a thing that wipes you out and takes all of your rights, because in the firstly your current address would be passivized by some police and you wouldn't be notified at all, and after 8 days that you cannot and don't know that you should like, for example, attack or make a complaint about the passivization or your addresses, you lose your right to have the address, and this loses you the right to to renew your ID card, your passport, and without the ID card, you lose your right to vote, to get the new health system card or every other right that comes with it.
The thing that I'm confused about when it comes to this passivization is how do the Serb officials protect that position that they take? If you don't have your ID card, you're not able to get these services. So what do they say to people, and how many people like that are there, Albanians that you know of personally and in the region, that don't have these ID cards, or they're having this passivization of their addresses taking place? What does that number look like, and what do they say to these people? I can't even comprehend living in a society where something like that can happen to me.
If I talk personally, I know a lot of my family members, friends, or acquaintances that I know that they're going through the passivization process. But if I talk in general, by our estimations, the number are from 6 to 8,000 people in Medvedja, in Bujanovac and Preševo. And this, the target was Medvedja at first, and they achieved the goal of wiping out around 5,000 to 6,000 Albanians from their system. And now the Bujanovac is next because it has mixed ethnic society, with Albanians making up 62% and Serbs making around 25%. And these are the statistics from 2022 census. What they say is that you don't really live at that address because some of our students or young people have, for the lack of opportunities to work and study here, went to Kosovo or Tirana or in Albania or Macedonia. And we believe that the system is really connected with the police in the borders. When they see a guy that crosses the borders often, they will start to put a red dot, we say, in the border. And this is the information that this guy or this girl is traveling a lot and possibly has another job or activity in Kosovo or Macedonia. And after that, it will start the process of passivization, where you don't know you are being passivized. You only know about it when you go to get a document or to renew your ID card. And for you, that's too late to attack that decision, and you have to start a process which will take you 2-3 years to go throughout the courts.
And at the same time, none of this has happened to a Serbian citizen that's Serbian origin in Serbia, only to Albanians.
The report that the Youth Initiative for Human Rights has made, which is the organization in Belgrade, he took the examples from Medvedja and from its neighbor municipalities such as Lebane and Bojnik, which are neighbor municipalities. In the municipalities where Serbs live, such as Lebane, the percentage of people who has been passivized are around 0.01%. And in Medvedja, the percentage is 22% of its population. So this, I think, is really shows what the intention is here. So as much as Albanians they could pacifize and wipe out through our system is better. And we've had a talk with Mr. Keith about it when he visited, and I think it's clear what Serbian government wants: Presheva Valley without Albanians, and the government will try all of its power throughout passivization, underdevelopment, exclusion from institutions, non-recognizing diplomas from Kosovo, to lose the hope of Albanians to live here and to seek the future somewhere else. So that's how passivization is working. And now the shift came to Bujanovac, where we hear daily about people living, working in or studying in Kosovo, or others who are in diaspora, where they are being passivized, a lot of them, and without possibility to really like get back those their addresses and such, their ID cards or documents.
Faton, so building on this passivization issue, and then the human rights abuse associated with that, and then you have Serbia, who's looking for a path toward European Union membership. You had, I believe it's the Helsinki report that came out. You would know better than me the details on that, discusses this a bit. What does that do, the whole dynamic, the politics behind European Union integration Serbia, connected via pacifization and human rights abuses in Presheva Valley?
Doc, I was going to mention that, and I'm glad you brought it up. In a nutshell, this idea of pacifization or deleting residents from the National Citizenry Registry, thereby wiping them out as citizens of the country, has been termed for exactly what it is by the Helsinki Committee in Serbia. And it says this is ethnic cleansing through administrative means. Now, let's not forget, Serbia has taken on ethnic cleansing in Bosnia, in Croatia, Kosovo, and the rest, and that's part of the history. But they did that back then in the 1990s by brutal force, by firing bullets. Now they're doing it with a stroke of a pen. And that's why I applaud the Helsinki Committee for Human Rights in Serbia, mind you, that in their 2023 report coined the term ethnic cleansing through administrative means. So if you were to say what pacifization is, well, here is what it is. It's ethnic cleansing through administrative means. They don't have to fire bullets anymore. They know that's not going to fare well internationally. So they've come up with this idea that we'll check at your home. You're not there a few times. And what Alban just described is this is systemic. And by that, I mean the state institutions are complicit in doing this. This is not random. This is not by chance. Like in Lebanon, where only 0.001% of the people perhaps have given up residence in Serbia. They haven't lived there for so long. This is systemic, and it is targeted against the ethnic Albanians in the Presheva Valley. Medvedev just pretty much wiped out of Albanians. The same problem now is being faced by the Albanians in Presheva and Bujanovac municipalities. The bottom line, I would say, is that Serbia wants to make it impossible for the ethnic Albanians to live there. So that, how do we resolve the problem? Well, make life unbearable so that they leave on their own and we don't have to repeat the terrible and horrible scenes of the 1990s where we force them out. So now we force them out softly. No violence, no guns, no bullets, stroke of a pen, administratively, make life unbearable, make life impossible, have them get out. Ethnic cleansing through administrative means. As it pertains to the European Union, I don't want to use the word skeptic, but I will for lack of a better term. I am very skeptical that there will be any resolution to this issue, or that there will be any lasting peace in the Balkans if it is left to the European Union alone to handle the issues we face in that region. Only American leadership, and only principled American leadership, the example of which is Congressman Keith Self right now. And we have had prior leaders in the American foreign establishment, foreign policy establishment, that have shown that leadership continuously, whether Republican or Democrat. Let's not forget big names like Tom Lantos, for example. Big names like Henry Hyde, Ben Gilman. These are all predecessors in the Foreign Affairs Committee of Congressman Self. Tom Lantos was ranking member, was chair of the committee. Henry Hyde was chair of the committee. Ileana Ross-Littman. Ben Gilman, as I said, Bob Dole in the Senate, John McCain in the Senate, Senator Biden in the Senate, plenty of other people in the Senate and the House that have shown principled leadership. I think the beacon and the torch of that principled leadership now is in the hands of Congressman Self, his colleagues, and people in the House Foreign Affairs Committee, and especially the subcommittee in Europe, that see this problem for what it is. European Union has failed time and again to provide any meaningful resolution to almost any issue in the region. Only when America has stepped in, we have had meaningful resolutions. And I will bring you just one example. We were discussing the final status of Kosovo in Vienna for years. And only when President George W. Bush said publicly in Tirana in June of, was it 2007, I believe, during his visit there, enough is enough, Kosovo will be independent. Only then did the negotiations conclude within months from then, and Kosovo was independent. Another example would be NATO's intervention, whether in Bosnia, whether in Kosovo, no matter where. Had it not been for the U.S. leadership, none of that would have happened. So I appreciate and I do respect the efforts of the European Union. But let me ask, or let me just put out this question, put it out there. How do you believe the European Union will be able to resolve any of this when they are indeed negotiating Serbia's membership with the EU at the same time that they know and the world knows that this is a country where basic human rights of their own citizens are completely disregarded on a daily basis. This is a country that has policies of state and systemic discrimination and ethnic cleansing within their own borders against one minority. So turning a blind eye is one thing, but allowing this problem to become a conflict eventually with regional and even European wide consequences is, in my mind, lack of responsibility and accountability for an organization that pretends to be a union of democracies and Western civilizations. So I think the European Union must step up in the sense that they have to be direct, like, you know, German Chancellor was recently when Merz, when in the recent EU Western Balkans summit that took place in Tivat, Montenegro, just maybe 10 days ago. He was very direct with Serbia. He says, well, you know, you got to decide. Are you going to be full-fledged working towards getting into the European Union? Or are you going to continue to be loyal and a puppet, if you will, for Russia and China? Serbia has historically, we have that, you know, expression Albanian, mehongër me dy luk, right? They have historically been sitting in two places at the same time. They have continued to remain loyal to Russia. They've continued to be a puppet for China. Vucic was there just recently. You've seen it. At the same time that they have tried to appease, if you will, the European Union by pretending that they also are working towards EU integration. So Serbia is going to be our neighbor. We cannot change geography. We're stuck where we are. And so I want, and I believe time will come, hopefully sooner than later, that Serbia makes that very important decision, whether they want to move towards European Union, share the values of democracy, equality, respect, that we in true democracies believe in, or will they continue to be loyal and a puppet for Russia and China? Because these are two different things. They are opposite of each other. So you can't have them both at the same time. And so I think the European Union has a huge responsibility to make this very clear for Serbia. Now, there is reports, especially from the European Parliament, that do note and address the issue of ethnic Albanian discrimination in Serbia. But the Commission must step up and really face Serbia off and tell them, this is it. You gotta make a choice. And if you're coming towards our family, we embrace you. No problem with that. but there is rules you got to follow, and there is values you have to truly embrace. And again, I believe strongly and firmly then that it is only principled U.S. leadership that can actually deliver results that bring about lasting peace and prosperity in the region.
Faton, I want to dig into that here in a minute, but I want to ask Alban first, what specific actions would you like to see from Congress and the State Department following this visit, this congressional visit we just had in Presheva Valley?
But I'm also still thinking about what Faton mentioned about the EU reports towards Serbia, because when those reports firstly came in 2021, I think, was the first time that the EU reports for Serbia mentioned the passivization and the lack of Albanians in public institutions. We're really in a way happy, and we were hopeful that something now will change, because even in those reports, those issues that we have raising for many years have been raised. But it's unfortunate that we are now 5 or 6 years from that moment that nothing really happened. No measure has been taken, and the commissions just wrote those reports, but didn't follow up with the actions that could bring us to stop the discrimination, such as the passivization, or make the documents that Serbia has signed, such as 7-point plan. And the last one is the action plan for integrating Albanian community, Albanians in state institutions in Prešov, Bujanovac, and Medveđa. Any of it never happened. So till we have started to lose that hope that something will change, and thanks to the Keith South and his bill, we are now really hopeful that something will change toward it, because we know and we lived it firsthand that without the will and without the push from United States of America, nothing will happen in Balkans, and always will be these things talks again and again without any results. And that's why we are really hopeful that after the visit that Mr. South with his colleague, Congressman from Virginia, had, and the chance they had to see firsthand the lives of Albanians in Presheva Valley, the State Department, I expect to start and dig in and make a Serbian government accountable for what is doing. I want to raise the latest issue that's happening is the blockade of the funds from government of Kosovo toward National Minority Council, which is aimed for paying the textbooks for children in elementary schools for 3,564 children that Kosovo and the National Minority Council sponsored to pay for all the books, and for the students, which meant to have their bursa. I forgot.
It's okay.
Scholarships.
Scholarships.
Yeah, scholarships, and also for a lot of our organizations which are focused on preserving the Albanian culture and the Albanian way of life in Prešov, Bujanovac, and Medveđa. this blockade came in the moment where the bill has started. So for us, it's really linked towards one another. And it really shows that every step that we take to raise awareness, it will be always a counter effect and a new thing that government of Serbia will try to do to block us and limit our in a way communication with in this matter with congressmen or with international community.
So it's interesting. It's another example of the double standard where, you know, the Serbian minority in Kosovo has lots of money coming from Serbia for their medical, their schools, without any kind of interruption from the government of Kosovo. But yet when Kosovo tries to send some money for school children's books, it's blocked as a repercussion for having the congressman come out to visit the region as a way to hurt Albanian minorities in Serbia. So it's very interesting this double standard that we constantly see. I wanted to ask you, Faton, as well. I wanted to get into this a little bit. You touched on it earlier in the day, but I wanted to talk about Albanian American Advocacy Organization and the roles that it plays to the region in Kosovo or in Presheva Valley, but also Kosovo and around the world. You know, you mentioned earlier about that luncheon that we had here where I live in McKinney with Congressman Self. He represents us in our district over here. And it was the initial time when Shaib Kamberi and Ragmi Mustafa and some others, along with yourself, had gotten to meet with Congressman Self. And I just wanted to kind of, you know, you'd given a lot of praise to Albanians for America for putting that together. I want the audience to understand this, and you mentioned it earlier, the effort that a few individuals can get together and make a difference really is hard to understand sometimes, but it's a great example. You know, you've been doing this for a long time, Faton, but Gino Milici, who's really the driving force of all of this, you know, his ability, which I've not seen before in any other human, let alone Albanian American, to be able to push something forward. When he gets something in his head, he just drives it. And he really drove this. You know, Congressman Self's within his district as well. And he really put this meeting together. You know, he really helped to assist in giving the correct information needed so we can have the congressional delegation come to Presheva Valley, come to Kosovo. They also got to meet with the protesting students from North Macedonia. They got to meet with the leaders in Kosovo as well, with from Macedonia, Albanians from Macedonia, and as well as, you know, the leadership in Kosovo as well. But he was really instrumental. You know, without this, we're not even having this podcast or discussion today, without him driving this and pushing it. But talk to the audience about, and this is not taking anything away from all the other efforts or hard work that, you know, you have put in. Without you, you know, you were so instrumental as well, Faton, on making this, bringing those folks down here to Texas in the first place, and then having us try to set up this meeting. But put this together for the Albanian American community in the United States to understand how important it is, because I always make this comparison. In the 1990s, you know, Kosovo, Albanian American interaction with Congress and support for Congress was here. Serbia was like here, you know, and now it's reversed. You know, Serbia is very active right now in D.C., you know, and they're putting millions and millions into lobbying efforts and groups to try to change the narrative. You know, they want for them to look like the victims of the 1990s rather than the true victims, which we all know who they are, and how important it is for us to tie this perspective together, and for the Albanian American audience to understand that to engage on a local level, if you're from New York with your New York congressman, if you're from Chicago, your Chicago congressman, or if you're from California, don't matter, to have an organization as well that can help assist in making those connections. That's what we did when we went to Chicago. We had Congresswoman Ramirez. She met with her local Albanian American constituents in Chicago. We got them together for a nice coffee. Now they're going ahead and making future plans. But can you connect those dots and kind of and talk more about the importance and, again, what Gino did for pushing this through and putting it all together? I mean, this is his, like, the congressional delegation and the lunch that day. This was all him just pushing it forward. And go ahead, Faton, you could take over from there.
You laid out the issue, I think, beautifully, and so let me just add more to it without, it's not praise, Doc, to be honest with you. It's the facts. So I'm not praising you. I'm not praising the Albanians for America or any individual. I'm providing facts. You, Alban, and the people from Presheva Valley have witnessed those meetings, those facts firsthand. So we have to get out of that idea that somehow telling people what we have done is boasting. No. Boasting is when you tell people you've done something you haven't, or you overvalue it. When you tell people the facts, it's just reality. The Albanian Americans are the single most influential group in the entire Albanian world that deserve more than praise, that deserve more than credit, that deserve more than writings in history books. Because without them, we would never have had Kosovo as a free and independent country. Without them and their contributions, we would have never had Albania move from communism to democracy and then become a NATO member. And without them, we would have never had somewhat more of an equal treatment for the Albanians in Montenegro. I personally was involved with Congressman Tom Lantos back in the day, and former Congressman Joe Diaguardi. And it was our efforts that gave Tuzi the status of a municipality. Without the Albanian Americans, the Albanians in North Macedonia, then Macedonia, would have never had, they still don't have equal rights. They're still struggling. But let me give you one example, University of Tetovo. The University of Tetovo was burned down by the Slav forces when it was started. And it was the Albanian Americans, led by Shirley Cloyce and Joe Diaguardi at the time, in 1994, they went physically to protest with the Albanians in Tetovo and got the university reinstated again. So the Albanian Americans in general are, again, I can't stress this enough, the single most important force for the betterment and progress and freedom and democracy of the entire Albanian world, especially for the Albanians in the Balkans. Now, when we work together, it doesn't matter. You gave a great example with the Chicago crowd. Local constituents, Albanian Americans, have the ability and should make it a mission to get closer to their representatives, whether in the House or the Senate, or even their state legislatures, because it is through these connections that then an organization such as Albanians for America can serve as the umbrella organization to reinforce that message that comes from the bases, that comes from the constituents. And I think this is something we have lacked over time, because we have all these community groups, local organizations that deal with their local communities, but we're yet to have a national platform in the United States. And it could be more than one organization, but as long as they belong and work towards that same platform, you're going to see results you're not going to believe. I could not agree more with you and the example of Gino Milici that you described, and his intuition, perseverance, commitment to making something as historic as what we have seen recently happen. But these individuals are great examples of what we can extrapolate multiple times better as an organized group. And so I think Albanian Americans across the nation should see that and understand that their role is unique, that without the support of the United States of America, we would have been doomed. Now, we cannot take that support for granted. We got to nurture it. Doc, you mentioned another important thing. You mentioned the fact that now we have a much more aggressive Serbian lobbying efforts in Washington than we have ever seen before. And that is true. Now, let me tell you something. The Serbs have created this organization called SAVA, S-A-V-A, in America. Now, Alban, better than you and I, Doc, would know what SAVA means to the Serbs. I think it's their major saint. You know, it's called Sveti Sava, like Saint Sava. Alban, am I wrong or is that correct?
Yeah, Sava means, yeah, you're
All right. But Doc, you know what SAVA stands for in America?
Do not.
Serbian American Voter Alliance. And that's an umbrella organization that deals in political issues for the entire Serbian American community. And this is an organization that works closely with local community groups, clubs, societies, associations of Serb Americans across the nation, and channels all of that message into one pinpointed particular message for the interest of Serbia and Serbs all over. And I'm not saying that they've kind of become better and they have overpowered us. All I'm saying is that although they do not have nearly a fraction of the problems that we have to deal with, they are going hard at it because they too understand that American support and principled American leadership on this issue, on these issues, is going to be the determinative force behind any foreseeable resolution. We have had a wonderful history of interacting with American policymakers from the time of Fanoli and Konica, right? So we have a legacy, but we have to build on that. And there's that famous expression that Joe always uses that says, let's not forget, gur bahat mur bahat kalaya. So if Gino is a strong, standing stone of what we need to do, and Doc is another one, and Ismet is another one, and Joe is another one, and Nick is another one, and Alban is another one. You put them together, you already have a wall. And it's not easy to tear it down. It's never been, and it will never be. So I think the momentum is now to champion the issue of the Presheva Valley, because I think these people endure the impossible. Doc, I don't know if you've ever been there. I've visited the area myself several times. The last time I was there was just a couple of years ago. And it brought me flashbacks from living under Serbian occupation in Kosovo in the 1990s. I grew up in Kosovo in the 1990s. I know what it meant to live there under the Serbian occupation. I know, and I have experienced myself, to go to these parallel schools, underground schools, hiding your notebooks. You had no books, forget books then, under your shirt, and go to those private houses to continue our Albanian education. I know what it meant to protest in front of the Serb police and military force. I know what it meant to be sprayed on with water cannons and then tear gas. And I never forget, we used to keep onions. For some reason, onions stuck with tear gas. I've learned that from when I was just a kid.
It's good to know.
And that flashback of my childhood memory came back vividly when I was last time in Presheva and Buenos. These Albanians who continue to live there deserve more than praise. because they could easily decide to leave, sell their properties, go to Albania, Kosovo, North Macedonia, or across Europe, because they all have some cousin and some uncle and some aunt living somewhere in the European Union, right? And they've been liberalized, so they've had visa liberalization for many years prior than Kosovo did. They could have all left the area already, but they didn't. And they're suffering for it, and they deserve our support because it is their right to have liberty, freedom, and respect and dignity in their own ancestral lands. These people haven't gone to Presheva, Bayanovs, or Medvedja from the Carpathian Mountains. Others have come from that region, and they've found us there. And we will continue to be there, whether they like it or not. But we have to make sure that America understands that this is not an issue about Albanians. This is an issue about values of democracy. This is an issue about the geopolitical and national interest of the United States of America. There is no country in the world and no population in the world that's more pro-American than the Albanians. Who's going to be America's most trusted, loyal ally in the Balkans? The Serbs, the Macedonians, the Montenegrins, the Bosnians, or the Albanians, who have shown time and again that we stand behind and in line and shoulder to shoulder with America whenever and wherever needed, because we owe it to them. We owe it to them. And it doesn't start with Kosovo in 1990s. It starts with Albania in 1912 with President Woodrow Wilson, without whose commitment Albania was going to be chopped up and might not have even existed today. Forget Kosovo then. And again, the beauty of all of this is that we have always had bipartisan support, Doc, and we got to keep at it. We got to keep at it. And I urge all Albanian Americans across the board, whether they're Democrat or Republican or independent, or they couldn't care less about politics, whether they live in California or New York, in Michigan or Florida or Texas, it doesn't matter. They have a moral national obligation to help out organizations such as yours to bring this message forward to the front burner of American foreign policy like you've successfully done so far. Now, the last thing, I know some Albanian Americans feel that, we're not as big of a community in the United States, ethnically speaking, so we don't have a lot to say. Let me give you an example. Michigan is one of those swing states that every presidential election takes national attention. And I've done some research recently, and I figured out that it is between 40 to 80,000 votes in Michigan that decide the presidency of the United States by deciding which way that state will swing. Is it going to go blue this time? Is it going to go red? There is over 40,000 Albanians, according to the U.S. Census in Michigan. Way more that have not been officially registered in the U.S. Census, because a lot of them come from Montenegro and other places in the Balkans, so not Albania or Kosovo, so they would not technically be considered Albanian. They would be considered whatever, Montenegrin and Bosnian or Macedonian or whatever. Just think of that. We have single-handedly the option and the power to decide the fate of Michigan when it comes to a presidential election, because it has always been decided by 40 to 80,000 votes. And we have as many Albanians who live in that state.
Well, look at 2000 election, Florida. I mean, it was down to 500 votes who became president of the United States. So, I mean,
I use the Michigan example because it struck me that there is this ethnic community that could actually swing that state.
Correct.
Which way at once. So we do have power. Politically, electorally, business-wise. The Albanians in America are very successful, and I couldn't be happier for them. But we gotta put our heads together for something that's bigger, greater than our own personal ambitions, than our own personal businesses. That belongs to something we all share in common. and that's the Albanian nation.
Faton, that's you put it really well said. I mean, it was some great words you just said, and we're getting close to the end. I wish we can go a little bit longer and have some more of that, but I just wanted to get to some comments made online. We have Besim Shabani again. For us, it's important that Congress help establish a clear roadmap for the implementation of the agreements, including an 18-month timeline with measurable benchmark and continuous monitoring of their implementation. Equally important is ensuring an immediate halt to the practice of address passivization and the restoration of addresses that have already been pacified so that affected citizens can fully exercise their civil and political rights. Estrefs from Washington says, you have been a great activist, Mr. Bislimi. Luana Lezi from Chicago says, we have one now, AFA. Estref also says, we must stand for others the way others stood for us. We have a moral obligation to help our Albanian community in the Balkans. Well said, Faton. And now that we're coming close to the end of the program, I think we've gone over an hour right now. I'd like to kind of see if either of you, well, before that, if either of you had one message for members of Congress who are learning about the Presheva Valley for the first time, what would that message be to them? Go ahead, Alban.
If some of them would clearly hear me, yes, I would say that it's crucial for us to support the bill that Mr. Kisself is sponsoring, because for us it's not something a legislative thing. For us, it's really is the means of us hoping to stay here, as Faton said, or to really start to think about what the youngsters is doing, because a lot of my friends, my family members now left this area for Germany, Kosovo, or other parts, and it's really I for myself it saddens me when I see that a lot of young people doesn't leave this region for their choice, but for really just having the perspective that here in Presheva Valley the discrimination is prohibiting us to do. Because let's just say one more time, 18 generations of Albanians who has their diplomas from Kosovo can't find a job, or because their diplomas are unrecognized. And Preševo, Bujanovac, and Medvedja are amongst top underdeveloped and poorest municipalities in Serbia. And in other hand, the passivization, the lack of perspective really is, for us, it's struggling to enjoy everyday life. And that's why I would ask every congressman and everyone who is politically engaged to help us bring the bill to life and to make Serbia respect the human and minority rights as such as international and its constitution requests. So, because in the end, what we are asking is the simplest things to make in a way respectable living, and to not leave our land, which is the land of our ancestors. And for this, I really would ask anyone's help. And also, I would like to praise the Albanian community in Virginia, because when we had the chance to talk with Congressman of Virginia, Mr. Suhas, sorry for his last name, I can't really pronounce
Subramanyam, yeah, it's hard to pronounce.
Yeah, he told me that a lot of the things that he's seen here in Presheva Valley are heard from Albanians and his constituents in Virginia. So I think all of Albanians throughout America is doing really great work. And one of the things that I'm really hopeful of is that Albanians doesn't have not to change the narrative or to lie, because what every Albanian in America and throughout diaspora should do is only to tell the truth, that there's a group of a community in the Europe that lives throughout the discrimination of state only because it's ethnic base, and for that we would appreciate all of the help that you from USA will try and give to us, because our only hope, as I mentioned earlier, is that when USA wants to do something, that's what will happen. And we are now left at the fate, in the hands of the fate and the hands of the people who will fight with us to make a better future and a better tomorrow for all of the people here, to help us not leave our homes and our cities for the lack of the perspectives, because I think that's when government of Serbia will win, is when they will get our hope from us and we'll lose every hope for tomorrow. So thank you once again for all of your work that you've been doing for so many years, and I'm really glad that I could talk with you today and show our everyday life perspective toward the visit of Mr. Kiself and everything that you have been doing. You should know that whatever you do there is affecting our life here, and for that, I will ask you to keep that in mind, everything that you will be doing for Albanian community, in general, but for Presheva Valley in particular, because I can say that we are the most discriminated community in Europe right now, and we, without the help of our friends, of our brothers, we can't really make it on our own. Thank you.
Thank you, Alban. I promise you and the people of Presheva Valley, as I'm sure all the Albanian Americans here in the United States, we're not going to give up. We're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep voicing our concerns and bringing it up to our elected local officials. Faton, any closing words before we have to move on?
Thank you, Doc. Just briefly, you asked what our message for the members of Congress would be, and I'm just going to relate to that and say that members of Congress sit in the House of the people in a country that has been the beacon of democracy in modern times. That House of the people is a symbol of hope, and it has been a symbol of dreams come true for the Albanians across the board in the Balkans, in Albania, in Montenegro, in North Macedonia, and especially in Kosovo. And time has now come for that same beacon of democracy to become once again the symbol of a dream come true for the Albanians in the Presheva Valley, because I will say it again, it is not only in the interest of the Albanians, but it is crucially in the interest of the United States of America, geopolitically and strategically, to make sure that there is no hot spot with sparks around in the Balkans. The cost of dealing with another disastrous conflict in the Balkans would be way more higher than any costs associated with preventing it. And the way to prevent it is to simply ask and maintain reciprocity on a symmetrical basis for the rights of the Albanians in the Presheva Valley to be equal to the rights of the local Serbs in the Republic of Kosovo. Nothing more, nothing less. Square and fair. There is no people in the world that are more pro-American, that believe in America, more and more frankly and honestly that the Albanians do. So for America, we are loyal. We are your loyal friend and ally. We are a partner. And for us, you are the beacon of hope and that symbol of dreams come true. At the end of the day, America was built on dreams. Whether you look at the instances when it first became a democracy, the instances of how it emerged after the Civil War, the instances how it dealt with slaves and slavery, and then racial discrimination, all of that was because people had bold dreams. Yes, the Albanian peoples have suffered for too long, but you know what? We take strength from that suffering, and we want to turn that strength into a great example of inspiration for the entire world. And we have done it in the past by saving every single Jew who needed our help during World War II. And we will continue to do it by being that beacon of inspiration, just like America is a beacon of hope and democracy. And thank you, Doc.
Gentlemen, thank you both for joining us today and for sharing your insights. The recent Congressional Delegation visit has helped bring greater attention to the concerns and aspirations of Albanians in the Presheva Valley. As policymakers in Washington continue to engage the Western Balkans, conversations like this are essential to ensuring the human rights, democratic participation, and regional security remain at the forefront. To our listeners, thank you for joining us on AFA Talks. Be sure to subscribe, share this episode with friends and family, and follow Albanians for America as we continue working to strengthen the voice of Albanian Americans and advance U.S. Albanian relationships. I'm Doc Vernici. Thank you for joining us. And as always, Miro Pashim.
Miro Pashim.
Thanks for everybody who might still be there for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next podcast. So thanks for coming in through Zoom. Thank you all. Thank you, Bessa. Thank you, Estref. Ilir, thank you. I see you on there. Thank you all, you guys. Appreciate it.